Good evening, friends. Today I want to speak to you about a power that is greater than any fear, greater than any obstacle, greater than the mountains that rise before us in life. It is a power that begins in the heart, that stirs the soul, and that lifts the spirit when the weight of the world feels unbearable. It is the power of faith. You see, faith is not a quiet, passive hope. It is a bold, unwavering trust in what we cannot yet see. A confidence that the unseen hand of God is at work, even in our darkest hours. Think for a moment of the challenges you face, the valleys of doubt, the storms of uncertainty, the mountains that seem impossible to climb. Yet with faith, even the tallest mountains can be moved. With faith, the impossible becomes possible. This is not a message of mere optimism or wishful thinking. It is a call to a life surrender, a life filled with trust, courage, and divine purpose. And as we gather here today, let us open our hearts to this truth, that no matter the trials, no matter the struggles, faith has the power to lift us, to guide us, and to transform our lives in ways we cannot yet imagine. Faith is a force that shapes lives, that moves hearts, and that can transform the world around us. It is not something we see with our eyes, nor is it measured by what we can touch or hold. Faith begins in the quiet places of the heart, in those moments when doubt presses in, when fear seems overwhelming, and yet, deep down, a small voice whispers that there is something greater, something stronger, something unshakable. This is the power of faith. And it is a power that calls each of us to rise above our circumstances, to trust even when the road is dark, and to believe when every reason around us tells us otherwise. Faith is not a passive state. It is an active, living force. It stirs the soul to action, it gives courage to the weary, and it lights a path where none seems to exist. There are moments in life when we are tempted to surrender to despair, to shrink back from the challenges before us, to accept that some mountains cannot be moved. But faith teaches us otherwise. Faith tells us that nothing is impossible when we place our trust in what is higher than ourselves, when we lift our eyes beyond our immediate struggles, and when we allow a power greater than our own to guide our steps. Faith is what gives the soldier courage to face the battlefield, the parent strength to endure sleepless nights and endless worry, and the ordinary person the ability to keep going when life seems unfair. It is not blind or foolish. It is rooted in hope, in truth, in the assurance that we are never alone in our journey. The world often tells us that success is measured by what we achieve with our hands, by what we see with our eyes, by what we can control. Faith, however, asks us to look beyond the tangible, to trust in the unseen, and to act on the promises that are held in the heart. It calls us to stand when others fall, to keep believing when doubt tries to creep in, and to walk forward with courage even when the path is uncertain. Faith is what allows us to face the impossible with the certainty that we are not facing it alone. The power of faith is evident in countless lives throughout history. People have faced trials that seemed insurmountable, dangers that appeared unbeatable. And yet, because of faith, they found strength beyond their own. Faith does not always remove the challenges we face, but it gives us the courage to confront them. It changes the way we see the world and the way we see ourselves. It turns obstacles into opportunities, fear into determination, and weakness into resilience. When we have faith, we are no longer slaves to circumstance. We are participants in a greater story, a story where even the smallest act of trust can ripple out and affect generations to come. Faith is also deeply personal. It begins in a quiet moment, in the inner dialogue of a heart seeking meaning, seeking guidance, seeking hope. It does not demand grandeur or perfection. It asks only that we open ourselves, that we take that first step of trust, that we believe even when it is hard. And as faith grows, it transforms us. It teaches patience in waiting, courage in adversity, and joy even amid suffering. It is the lens through which we begin to see life differently, to see challenges not as walls, but as stepping stones, to see setbacks not as defeats, but as lessons, and to see the world not as a place of despair, but as a place filled with possibility. When we speak of faith moving mountains, we are not speaking of literal peaks alone. We are speaking of the obstacles in our hearts, the fears that hold us back, the doubts that paralyze us. Faith is the lever that lifts us, that sets us free from the weight of what seems impossible, and that empowers us to take steps we might never have thought possible. It is the quiet whisper in the dark that says, "Keep going. You are not alone. There is a way forward." And as we respond to that call, as we allow faith to guide us, we discover that its power is limitless, that it can reshape our lives, and that it can ripple outward, touching the lives of everyone around us. Faith is not a momentary feeling. It is a lifelong commitment, a daily choice to trust, to believe, and to act on what we hold as true in our hearts. It is a force that grows stronger as we exercise it, that becomes more certain as we rely on it, and that carries us through storms we never thought we could survive. There are no limits to what faith can achieve because it is rooted not in our own strength, but in the power of something far greater than ourselves. It moves mountains, not by our hands alone, but by the strength it inspires within us and the power it releases from above. In every trial, in every challenge, in every moment of uncertainty, faith is the unshakable anchor, the quiet strength, and the powerful force that can transform lives beyond imagination. Life often places us in valleys where the light seems dim, where the burdens feel heavy, and where every step forward seems to demand more strength than we believe we possess. In these moments, hope can feel distant, as if it were a fragile flame flickering in the wind. Yet it is precisely in these seasons of hardship that hope reveals its true power. Hope is not wishful thinking. It is not a fleeting emotion that appears when circumstances are convenient. Hope is a steadfast assurance, a quiet confidence that there is a purpose beyond the pain, a promise that even in our darkest hours, there is a guiding hand leading us toward brighter days. It is in the midst of trials that hope becomes a lifeline, a source of courage, and a reminder that no matter how stormy the seas, there is a shore we are moving toward, even if we cannot yet see it. When life presses in, when disappointment piles upon disappointment, and when grief and sorrow seem to form a wall around us, hope whispers a message that changes everything. This is not the end. You are not abandoned. There is a future yet to be realized. Hope gives us the strength to rise in the morning, even when the night has been long, to face each challenge with renewed determination, and to continue walking forward when our feet feel weary. It is the quiet voice that refuses to surrender, that reminds us that even the smallest flicker of belief can ignite a light that pierces through the shadows. Hardship does not diminish hope. Instead, it tests it, refines it, and often strengthens it in ways that comfort and ease never could. In the face of loss, whether it is the loss of a dream, a relationship, or a loved one, hope provides a foundation upon which we can rebuild. It allows us to grieve without despair, to mourn without being consumed by sorrow, and to carry on with the knowledge that our pain is neither ignored nor permanent. Hope teaches patience, for it reminds us that timing is often beyond our control, that life unfolds in seasons, and that even when we cannot understand the reasons for our suffering, there is a purpose that will one day be revealed. It gives us perspective, helping us see that the challenges we face are shaping us, preparing us, and equipping us for the life that lies ahead. Without hope, hardship can become a prison. With hope, it becomes a classroom, a place where character is built, where resilience is forged, and where faith is strengthened. Hope also carries with it the courage to act. When we hope, we do not wait passively for life to improve. We step forward, trusting that our efforts are not in vain. Hope inspires us to reach out to others, to extend kindness, to speak words of encouragement, and to believe that even in small acts, great change can begin. It allows us to see possibilities where others see obstacles, to find light in moments of darkness, and to hold on to the belief that no situation is hopeless if we place our trust in what is greater than ourselves. It is hope that fuels the heart of the struggler, the dreamer, and the believer, reminding us that the journey is not without meaning and that each step, no matter how difficult, carries significance. The power of hope is also revealed in community. When we share our struggles, when we support one another, and when we lift each other up in times of despair, hope multiplies. It travels beyond the individual heart, touching families, neighborhoods, and entire communities. Hardship can isolate, but hope connects. It creates bonds, fosters empathy, and encourages us to stand together, knowing that even in the most challenging seasons, we are not alone. Each act of courage inspired by hope becomes a testimony, a living proof that light can emerge from darkness, that life can flourish in unexpected ways, and that the human spirit, when anchored in hope, is capable of remarkable endurance. Ultimately, hope in hardship is a force that sustains us, that empowers us, and that transforms the way we experience life's trials. It is the quiet strength that whispers to the heart, the gentle hand that steadies the trembling soul, and the unseen presence that assures us that no difficulty is without purpose. Hope is the anchor that holds us firm when storms rage, the lens through which we see possibility when circumstances seem bleak, and the fire that ignites courage when all seems lost. In every struggle, in every challenge, in every moment when life feels overwhelming, hope is the companion that never abandons, the light that never fades, and the power that moves us forward with unwavering determination. Life is full of moments where the path ahead seems unclear, where decisions feel overwhelming, and where the weight of uncertainty presses heavily upon our hearts. In these moments, guidance is not merely a comfort, it is a necessity, a compass that points us toward what is right, true, and meaningful. The guidance of God is unlike any counsel we might receive from the world. It is steady, unchanging, and perfectly attuned to the rhythm of our lives. It does not falter in the face of difficulty, nor does it waver when the storms of life rage around us. To walk in God's guidance is to walk in a presence that is infinitely wise, infinitely loving, and infinitely patient. A presence that never abandons, never misleads, and never fails to illuminate the path before us. There are times when life's journey feels like a labyrinth. Choices come at us from every direction, and the consequences of a single decision can weigh heavily on our minds. In those moments, it is easy to rely solely on our own understanding, to trust in our own knowledge, and to believe that we must navigate alone. Yet the guidance of God invites us to step into a different way of living. It calls us to quiet the noise, to turn inward, and to listen for the gentle voice that speaks to the heart, the whisper that assures us that we are not alone, that we are being led by a hand far wiser than our own. Following this guidance does not mean the road will always be smooth or that challenges will disappear. It means that even in difficulty, even in uncertainty, we have a direction that is certain, a purpose that is unshakable, and a companion who walks beside us every step of the way. God's guidance is revealed in many forms, through the wisdom of Scripture, through the counsel of those who have walked faithfully before us, through moments of quiet reflection, and through the nudges of the Spirit that speak directly to our hearts. It teaches discernment, showing us not only what to pursue, but also what to avoid. It provides clarity when confusion threatens to overwhelm, and it offers peace when anxiety tries to take hold. To trust in this guidance is to recognize that our perspective is limited, that our understanding is partial, and that the unseen hand of God often moves in ways that surpass our imagination. It is a guidance rooted not in what is convenient, but in what is right. Not in what is easy, but in what is eternal. Not in what satisfies the moment, but in what fulfills the soul. When we allow God's guidance to direct our steps, life begins to take on a new shape. Decisions that once seemed daunting become opportunities to demonstrate trust. Challenges that felt insurmountable transform into lessons of perseverance and strength. We begin to see patterns, doors opening where before there were only walls, and paths forming where we feared only dead ends. This guidance brings peace, not because it removes difficulty, but because it gives us the assurance that we are moving in alignment with a purpose greater than our own. Even when we cannot fully comprehend the reasons for the twists and turns in our lives, we can trust that they are not without meaning, that every detour and every challenge is part of a plan that is infinitely good and wise. The beauty of God's guidance is that it meets us where we are. It is never distant, never indifferent, and never inaccessible. It is present in the quiet mornings of reflection, in the conversations that stir our hearts, in the encouragement of friends and family, and in the still small voice that speaks when the world is loudest. It reminds us that we are not navigating life by chance, that we are not wandering aimlessly, and that we are never alone in our journey. To follow this guidance is to surrender not our agency, but our anxiety, to choose trust over fear, and to step forward with confidence that we are being led by a hand that knows the beginning from the end, the seen from the unseen, and the possibilities that lie beyond our imagination. There is a strength that comes from walking in God's guidance, a courage that cannot be taught, and a peace that surpasses understanding. It steadies the heart in moments of fear. It provides clarity when we feel lost. And it anchors the soul in the midst of life's storms. Every step taken under this guidance becomes a testimony of trust, a reflection of faith, and a witness to the power of a presence that never fails. In moments of doubt, when we cannot see the way forward, guidance reminds us to lift our eyes, to quiet our hearts, and to trust that the path has been laid before us. It transforms our journey from one of uncertainty into one of purpose, one of hope, and one of profound assurance that we are never walking alone, that every step we take is known, watched over, and directed by a love that is higher, wiser, and eternal. Belief is more than a fleeting thought or a momentary feeling. It is a deliberate choice, a commitment of the heart, and an act of courage. To believe is to take a step into the unseen, to trust in what cannot always be measured, and to move forward with the assurance that our lives are held by a power greater than ourselves. It is easy to drift through life with uncertainty, to allow fear or doubt to dictate our actions, and to remain in the comfort of what is familiar. Yet there comes a moment in every life when the invitation is extended, a moment when we are called to set aside hesitation, to rise above our doubts, and to embrace a belief that transforms the way we see the world, the way we face our challenges, and the way we walk through life. This call to belief is not a passive request. It is an urgent, tender, and compelling invitation to trust in the possibilities that faith opens before us. To respond to this call is to acknowledge that life is not merely a series of random events, but a journey filled with purpose, intention, and meaning. It is to recognize that our struggles are not in vain, that our efforts are never wasted, and that our hearts are capable of holding hope even when circumstances suggest otherwise. Belief gives us the courage to rise after failure, to stand after rejection, and to continue walking forward when the path is steep and uncertain. It is a force that strengthens our spirit, ignites our resolve, and provides the energy to persevere when all else seems to fail. Without belief, the heart grows weary, the mind grows heavy, and the spirit falters. But when we answer this call, when we open ourselves to the power of belief, we discover that life takes on a new clarity, a new direction, and a new depth of purpose that cannot be achieved through effort alone. Belief is not blind. It does not demand that we ignore reality, dismiss reason, or close our eyes to the difficulties around us. Rather, it is a conscious choice to trust in the unseen, to rely on the wisdom that surpasses our own, and to act with confidence even when we cannot predict the outcome. It transforms fear into courage, doubt into determination, and uncertainty into a sense of peace that carries us through the most challenging moments. The heart that chooses to believe becomes a source of light not only for itself, but for those around it. Its influence spreads quietly but powerfully, inspiring others to take steps of trust, to act with integrity, and to hold on to hope when life seems overwhelming. Answering the call to belief also requires vulnerability. It asks us to lay down pride, to release control, and to surrender the illusion that we can navigate life entirely on our own. It invites us to step out of the shadows of hesitation, to trust in the guidance that is offered to us, and to embrace a path that is often unfamiliar but always filled with promise. In doing so, we discover a resilience we never knew we had, a clarity of vision that illuminates our purpose, and a strength that carries us through trials with a sense of confidence and peace. Belief does not make the journey easy, but it gives meaning to every step, and it empowers us to walk through uncertainty with courage, faith, and hope. The call to belief is also a call to action. Belief is not static. It requires engagement, commitment, and the willingness to act in accordance with what we hold as true. It challenges us to live out our convictions, to make choices that reflect our trust, and to influence the world around us with the light that we carry within. Each decision, each act of courage, each step taken in faith becomes a testimony of belief in action. A demonstration that faith is alive, practical, and transformative. It reminds us that our lives are not merely about survival, but about embracing the fullness of what is possible when the heart chooses to believe, when the mind chooses to trust, and when the spirit chooses to act. Ultimately, answering the call to belief changes everything. It alters how we see ourselves, how we respond to challenges, and how we engage with the world. It turns fear into hope, weakness into strength, and hesitation into decisive action. It invites us to step into a life of purpose, courage, and meaning, knowing that every step taken in belief is supported, guided, and empowered by a force that is greater than our own understanding. When we embrace this call, we find that life is no longer a series of uncertainties, but a journey filled with promise, hope, and the unshakable confidence that we are never walking alone, that our steps are known, and that our hearts are held in the hands of a